When raw material and supply chain costs go up, a corporation faces a strict mathematical mandate: protect its profit margins or face the wrath of its shareholders, charging you more dollars for the same physical item. But raising the sticker price triggers an immediate reaction. Shoppers notice the higher number, they experience sticker shock, and they stop buying. Economists call this demand destruction, and it represents a massive liability for any brand. The second primary option is implicit inflation. Instead of changing the retail price tag, a company reduces the physical volume of the product inside the package. Explicit inflation: the price tag increases to $4.60. Implicit inflation: the price stays at $4, but the container shrinks to 360 grams. Both approaches recover the exact same profit margin down to the penny. This volumetric reduction strategy is commonly referred to as shrinkflation. While heavily scrutinized in the modern press, it is not a recent corporate deception. It is a rigorously tested application of unit pricing theory that has operated in the background of consumer markets for decades. Corporations merge strict cost accounting with behavioral psychophysics to navigate economic pressure. By calculating exactly how human beings perceive size and mass, they make implicit inflation their statistically safest strategy. Understanding how these two disciplines intersect shifts your entire perspective on consumer spending. You stop evaluating the final price on your receipt, and you start looking directly at the actual unit cost. To see exactly how this works, we have to leave the retail checkout aisle and step into a corporate cost accounting department. Here, analysts are tasked with margin optimization. This is the process of adjusting product variables to maintain a specific target profit ratio, even when external costs like fuel or raw ingredients rise. Margin optimization relies entirely on unit economics. A financial ledger doesn't track profit per cardboard box or per plastic jar. It calculates profit per gram or per ounce of the material actually sold. This data visualization breaks down a standardized product to show the math in action. We have three isolated variables: a nominal retail price of X dollars, a physical volume of 400 grams, and the resulting baseline unit price formula, calculated as X divided by 400. Watch what happens when we model a physical reduction. The product's volume drops exactly 10%, going from 400 grams down to 360 grams. Throughout this physical reduction, the nominal price variable, the X dollar sticker price, remains entirely untouched. When we calculate the new formula, the math reveals a strict inverse relationship. Dropping the volume by 10% yields an effective 11% increase in the actual unit price. On a corporate profit and loss ledger, this exact 11% unit price hike completely offsets the inflationary pressures of raw materials that triggered the review in the first place. To the accounting team, shrinking the package yields the exact same financial salvation as explicitly raising the retail shelf price by 11%. Corporations relentlessly test these two options against consumer demand elasticity to see which mathematical path will cost them the fewest customers. If the financial outcome is identical, why does an 11% volume reduction glide through the checkout scanner unnoticed, while an 11% sticker price hike causes a catastrophic drop in sales? While raw input inflation creates the absolute mathematical necessity for an 11% price hike, it is the strict limits of human perception that dictate exactly how a company decides to execute it. To answer that question, we have to look closely at the physical product sitting on the shelf and examine the consumer's perceptual experience. Retail pricing operates against a psychological concept called nominal price rigidity. This refers to a shopper's highly sensitive, exact memory for the sticker prices of goods they purchase on a frequent basis. Because of this strict memory, explicit price hikes act as an immediate psychological tripwire. If a staple item jumps from $4 to $5, the brain recognizes the discrepancy instantly, and the purchase halts. But while our memory for nominal numbers is sharp, our capacity for volumetric perception is remarkably weak. Human spatial and geometric estimation is highly inaccurate when unsupported by measuring tools. This is a graphic demonstrating the just noticeable difference, or JND threshold. Rooted in the Weber-Fechner law, this metric visualizes the absolute minimum percentage change in physical mass required for a human to consciously detect a difference. When packaging engineers apply the JND metric to specific everyday items, they can plot exactly how much product they can remove. Taking exactly 5 chips out of a standard bag registers as a specific fractional reduction on this scale. That mathematically calculated reduction is designed to land just below the perceptual tripwire on the J&D curve. You physically lose product, but your brain fails to register the change in mass. Packaging engineering targets these perceptual blind spots by altering hidden geometry rather than frontal dimensions. As this 3D wireframe model of a glass jar tilts upwards, it reveals a deeply concave, hollowed-out bottom, hidden entirely from the standard forward-facing profile. Maintaining identical height and width parameters on the shelf exploits our brain's heavy reliance on two-dimensional visual cues to estimate three-dimensional volume. Redesigning a jar's base so that it holds exactly 2 fewer ounces of liquid is not an accident of manufacturing. It is a precise geometric solution to a strict psychological constraint. Reducing a toilet paper roll by exactly 10 sheets, or slightly narrowing the width of a cardboard core, follows this exact same perceptual calculus. Implicit inflation successfully bypasses our mental defense mechanisms because it alters the product's unseen geometry. It extracts value from dimensions we cannot easily measure, rather than challenging the rigid memory of a price tag we know by heart. If we zoom out from individual products and jars, we can observe the entire macroeconomic supply chain cycle as a single system. This flowchart maps the corporate decision-making process the moment increased raw material costs enter the system. The inflationary input flows directly into a boardroom decision matrix, forcing a split into 2 distinct directions: Path A, explicit pricing, and Path B, implicit pricing. Analyzing Path A reveals the friction. Explicit price hikes immediately strike the barrier of nominal price rigidity, resulting in a severe drop in the total demand volume output. Path B avoids this friction completely. By routing through a sub-J&D alteration, implicit pricing bypasses the psychological barrier, leading to preserved demand volume and optimized profit margins. This matrix proves that shrinkflation is not anomalous, chaotic behavior. It is the mathematically optimal and entirely predictable equilibrium for modern manufacturing firms. As long as consumer price memory outpaces consumer spatial awareness, implicit inflation will remain the dominant pricing strategy across the retail sector. Relying on a nominal sticker price to evaluate a product's economic value is a mathematically flawed strategy. True purchasing parity can only be maintained by continuously recalculating the actual unit cost over time. By recognizing the precise intersection of corporate cost accounting and human psychophysics, you evolve from a passive participant in nominal pricing into a rational, active processor of unit economics.